months.
Yeah.
Right. January 13th, 1982. This is Joe Todd. Interview with Annette Jenkins. Mrs.
Yeah.
Jenkins, when were you born?
February the 3rd, 1892.
And where were you born?
I believe it at Longview, Texas. I believe that was, I said 92. I believe it was 82.
Okay, how old are you now?
Well, you have to count it up.
But if you're born in 82, are you 100 years old yet?
82. No, I'm not 100 years old yet.
Are you 90?
I'm almost, I think I'm 90.
Okay.
90 or 91, I can't.
Okay, if you're 90, you were born in 92.
If I was 90?
Yeah. Who was your father?
David P. Adrian. David Patrick Adrian.
How you spell?
Adrian.
And who was your mother?
My mother's name.
Mm-hmm.
No, I can't.
Oh, that's okay.
Maddox was her name.
Before she was
Elizabeth Maddox. Mattox.
What did your father do? What kind of work?
Well, he was farmer and he did. Well, he did work, maid work, that he would pick up here and there, and he from log rolling to anything else that you could think of.
How big was Longview?
Longview was a good-sized town. Even when I was a child, it was pretty good. Compared with the other towns, I think it was considered a good town.
What was the main industry when you were there?
Listen, I don't know. I wasn't old enough to know what an industry was.
Mm-hmm. You know what the population of Longview was?
At that time, I don't know. I don't. It's a pretty good town though now.
Yeah. Who were some of the prominent people that lived there?
The McQuarters and I forget everything, and right now I could name hundreds of people in that town that were there. And the thing of it was, the people that are there now were there when I was a child.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How long did you live in Longview?
Oh, well, I was born there, and I moved away, and was never out of the state until I was about, I don't know how. I was about 24, 23 or 24, I guess.
Is that when you moved away?
When I moved away.
Yeah. What school did you attend in Longview?
Well, I went to a country school out 3 miles from the town, and it was, let me see now, Tryon. Tryon Tryon School.
Who was your favorite teacher?
Miss Cora.
Miss Cora?
Yeah, she was a neighbor too.
Mm-hmm. What'd she teach?
She taught at one time she taught all the grades in this little school, because we lived out about 3 miles from town, and she taught the school. Everybody went to the school. One room schoolhouse.
That's why I raised it up a bit real on.
Yeah.
We'll take our lunch to school.
How far did you have to walk to school?
About 3/4 of a mile. Well, might have not been more than a half a mile. I don't know.
What did the town of Longview look like?
Well, now I don't know how to tell you how it looked.
And was it the county seat?
Yes, it was Longview was the county seat of Gregg County.
Yeah. What are some of the major stores in Longview?
Oh, to be able to do that. Uh, I'm just poor about remembering
Oh, that's fine.
anything, but I could name a dozen of stores in Longview if I could just think.
Oh, that's fine. What were some of the games you played as a child?
Oh, hide and seek, and ball. I had 5 brothers, and so ball was a good game for us, for our family. And my dad would take the boys on outings and swimming. And one thing I never did like about my father, he taught the boys to swim, and he didn't want to teach me to swim. Said I couldn't swim with the dress on, and he wouldn't let me go in the water without the dress. So I didn't get to swim. I never did learn to swim. All my boys, the baby boy learned to swim when he was 2 years old. He could go across that pond just like lightning.
What kind of chores did you do as a child?
Well, I got up the eggs, and I helped Mama with flowers, cut the weeds out of the flowers, and take out the trash, and most anything that.
Now, did you live in Longview itself, or did you live on a farm?
We lived out 3 Mile.
How much land did your father have?
Oh, he had several acres. He had 2, 3 farms right around the Longview. If you didn't, you didn't have much
Yeah.
there, because land was poor at that time.
Who did the laundry around the house?
Oh, Aunt Jane.
Aunt Jane. How did she do it?
She did it on the washboard.
Can you describe how?
Yeah, she did it this way on a rub board.
I mean, how did she heat the water and all that? What would she do?
Heat the water in a big black pot. And when I was there last, that black pot was still there. Big old thing about this big around, you know.
Yeah. What kind of soap did she use?
Mama made the soap usually. Usually, I don't say usually, not all of it, because there's lots more soap than she made. She would buy the lye. And I don't know whether that was whether they had the lye pieces when they first began to make the soap or not. I can't remember about that.
How would she make soap? She'd take lye and...
Yeah, she'd take that lye that, I can't remember what it was like, the lye was like. It was a powder, I think.
What would she do with the lye?
She'd make it in the pot, in this big wash pot. And she'd put something in it to make the soap. And what did she put in to make the soap? Anybody ought to know that. Jody, you ought to know what you put in to make the soap. No. Well, it was strong, something strong that you put in the stuff to make
Who
the
did
soap.
the ironing?
Well, Aunt Jane did part. She didn't do much. She didn't iron very well. And we brought people in to do the ironing, and I did some ironing after I got old enough to iron some.
What kind of iron did you have?
At first we heated them in the fireplace. Make a lot of coals up there, you know, and these irons, and the ironing board was out in the middle of the hall. It was an open hall, and in the middle of the hall was a well, and the well curb was one end of the ironing board went over the well curb, and the other end went over a stand of some kind. And we did the ironing on that ironing board.
How much could you iron with one iron before it cooled down?
Oh goodness, I don't know. You wouldn't when my mother wore wrappers, Mother Hubbard wrappers. You know, she always had a baby coming on, and she wore these wrappers. And what did I start to say now?
About ironing?
Yeah, we ironed everything.
When you left Longview, where did you go?
To Chillicothe.
To where?
Chillicothe, Texas.
How do you spell that?
Chillicothe.
Okay.
My father came out prospecting, and my mother didn't want him to go at first, and then she begged him to go. And after he came out, he and a friend came out to Chillicothe, and they bought land. They both bought land when they went out there. And my mother wanted him to buy land, and after she bought land, she cried because he said, well, we're going to move out there sometime. And so she cried about that. She didn't want to move away from Longview because she'd lived there all her life, you know.
Yeah. How'd you travel out there?
We traveled in a surrey, if you know what that is.
Yeah.
But at the time we bought the land, we had a surrey, and then we had wagons.
So did you go by wagons?
We went out there.
Did you travel by wagon to West Texas?
To West Texas?
Yeah.
No, we traveled by train.
By train.
It was at that time that we had the two-seated. I don't know where it was. And it was a two-seated vehicle anyway, and a big vehicle that we traveled in. There was a big family of us. We had mother and dad had 9 children.
What year did you move to West Texas?
Oh goodness, I don't know. I don't know whether I could even find out when I moved to West Texas.
Did you pack up everything and did
Yeah,
you travel by what they call immigrant car?
What?
You know what an immigrant car is? That's when you lease a boxcar and a train and put everything in the boxcar.
We did that. That's the way we moved.
Yeah.
Put everything in that boxcar, and one of the neighbor boys, wanted to ride with the belongings, you know, and he got on that train and moved to, oh, excuse me.
Put that.
Moved with us. He rode on the wagon, and they got close to Chillicothe. He was afraid to ride into Chillicothe because he was hitching a ride, you know. And so he jumped off and almost killed himself. Jumped off the train as it was going. He didn't know it was going that fast as it was going up to the depot at Chillicothe.
When did they find out about him?
Oh, we found out about him right away because we kept an eye on him. We saw him when he jumped off. We had to keep him in bed a few days, and it was all right.
How do you pronounce that town again?
Chillicothe?
Yeah, how big is Chillicothe?
Well, it wasn't very big then. It had a main street and a cross street. Was about all it had then. But it's a good sized town now.
Yeah. Are the streets paved?
Oh, grand, yes. They've been paved ages.
Is ranching a big industry out there in that part of the state?
Yes, it is, especially out in north of Chillicothe.
And you say your father went out there prospecting?
Yes, when he and this friend of his went out to buy some land, and they both bought farms. And
how much land did your father buy?
oh, I don't know. I really don't know. Quite a bit.
Yep. Was he in cattle out there?
Well, he had some cattle, but not in the cattle business. You wouldn't call it the cattle business. He and a friend went out there. And I don't know where this friend is now. He moved on to West Texas, further west than Chillicothe. Chillicothe is just right at the edge of the panhandle, you know.
Yeah. You know how old you were when you moved?
16.
16.
Mm-hmm. I never will forget that. They gave me a party. Mama said I was too young for a party. Oh, goodness.
So you moved there about 1908.
It must have been. Yeah. I wouldn't judge at all. I could. Not very good at that.
How long
anyway.
did it take you to move to Chillicothe?
It took a few days. Let's see. They were. Let's see. They would camp. You know, the boys, my oldest, and the neighbor boy that was moving with us rode in the wagon, you know, and they would camp to keep from paying a fee, you know, to rent a room till they got to Chillicothe. And at that time, there were not any colored people at Chillicothe, and we got there, and there was a couple of colored people down at the depot, and they were afraid. They were scared to death, afraid to move away from the depot, afraid that people would get them, you know, because they were colored, because they didn't allow colored people out there in the West Texas.
Yeah. What'd they do?
I can't remember now what they finally did, but they didn't stay on the street after they found out that.
Any interesting stories on the train trip out west?
Oh, I don't know. I imagine so, but I don't know right now. That was a long time ago, you know. It was in 22, I guess. That's the way you get away with things, Jody.
Can you take it off?
He's busy with his business.
Let me see. How long did you live in Chillicothe?
Oh, we lived, well, Dad, Dad and this friend of his came out here and bought land. And then Mama kept wanting to move out.
Okay. How long you say you lived in Chillicothe?
Oh, I lived there quite a while. I taught school, and I went to school too. And when I went away to school, why, of course, I was away from Chillicothe then for a long time because I went to school and then I went to Canyon to school. Canyon was just opening up. We went out there, and my brother, my oldest brother, went with me to Canyon because he was going to see a girl down south of Canyon. And he went on down there, and I stopped at Canyon to go to school.
What year was that?
I don't know.
Yeah, how
I might be able to count it up, but I can't. Don't know a thing about it right now. My mind is blank.
Did you finish school in Chillicothe, high school?
I didn't graduate. I never did. I graduated only on a permanent. They had a permanent primary ticket, teachers certificates, and that's what I got. I got it just because I wanted to whiz through, and get through, and have something to show for my going to school, and that's what I got, and I never did just first class graduate.
Yeah.
Never did
Where
go
did you
back and
teach
do.
school?
I taught out in West Texas. I taught my first school out at Kirkland. No, I taught out from town, 3 miles from Chillicothe. Out there, I stayed with the family 3 miles out and taught school there.
What'd you teach?
Taught at this school. I don't know. Seemed like it was midway, but the people that I lived with lived up the road away, and their little boy went with me. I took him to school every day.
Yep.
Started him to school.
Where did you teach?
At this midway, I think was.
No, what subject did you teach?
Oh, a primary.
Primary?
Yes, at that time I was just doing primary teaching, and I had the principal taught with me.
Mm-hmm. And where did you study in Canyon when you went to school?
At Canyons, the university was just opening up there, Canyon University. And it was just opening up that year, this new building, Canyon building. And I guess that building is still there. I don't know.
I think so. What did you study there?
What did I study?
Yes, ma'am.
A primary subjects.
Mm-hmm.
Just.
Did you get your teacher's certificate there?
No, I got my teacher's certificate just from what I want to say was, well, just with teacher's certificate would be, you'd get a certificate with what? Examinations. That's the way I got my teacher's certificate.
Where'd you get it, in Chillicothe?
No, I got it at Canyon.
Oh, Oh, in Canyon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know how old you were?
Let's see, I was 16 when we moved to Chillicothe. I don't know. But I was older than that when I got my certificate. I don't know. I took a study course this past year from it was Chicago University, just because I wanted to do the work of it. You know, I wanted to do the arithmetic. I was always good in arithmetic. I did have my papers from school.
Can you describe Canyon, the university there?
At that time?
Yeah.
Well, it was just the school building was just partly built, and it was all prairie all around the schoolhouse, the university, and the president's house was down on the campus, and that's just about all that was on the campus. Where other people lived, why they. Let's see, we're just scattered all around the campus. Where other people lived.
Who was president of the university?
At that time, there was. It was a easy name. It's an easy name. I can't call it now. I can't call it.
Did you live on campus or off campus?
Well, people lived around there, you know, and everybody that went to school at that time, there wasn't a very big school, and we just lived in the houses that the people lived in. We boarded in the houses.
Remember who you boarded with?
I boarded what this house was called. I wish I knew. We had the best time. I thought it was wonderful.
How come they set up the college in Canyon?
How come to?
Yeah, how come they chose Canyon for the
I don't know. I just never did know that. I was a youngster, of course.
How long did you teach?
Oh, don't ask me that. All my life. I felt like I had taught all my life. Ugh.
When did you retire?
I can't tell you that either. I could fish out all that information, but I can't right now.
When did you meet your husband?
Oh, I met him at, where did I meet Papa? I met him at home, at my home.
In Chillicothe?
Yeah, but he came there on a visit and visited me. Let's see who he was visiting there. And came to see me, and I was about the only girl there that mattered to anything as far as anyone coming in knew. So it didn't take me long to marry him.
Yeah. When did you get married?
I don't know. Whether it was 22, I don't know. I wouldn't dare to say because I don't get any of this right, I might imagine.
What was your husband's name?
Well, I must get that name for you. Oh.
When did you move to Oklahoma?
I don't know that too. I can't call the time of it was.
How long have you lived in Oklahoma?
There it is again. I've lived from that time till this. I've never lived out of Oklahoma. Boy and a girl.
Any grandkids?
Yes, I have 3 boys, grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one of them has a grandbaby. I have a great grandbaby.
Well, that's good. Do you remember any interesting stories that happened as a child?
Oh, I imagine I do, but I can't. My mind is, when you get your mind 82 years old, or 92, whichever it is, you can't recall very many things.
Well, do you have any comments about Longview or Chillicothe or?
Oh, I don't know. When we moved to Chillicothe, it didn't have paved street. Just the main street was paved. Main street was paved.
What kind of house did you live in Chillicothe?
I believe it was a frame house. Main street was paved.
What kind of house did you live in Chillicothe?
I believe it was a frame house. I believe Dad built the house. He went out there. He and a friend went out there, and they both bought land, and they both bought a house in town. And we lived in ours. Wasn't much of a house, the one we lived in at first, and then we built another one out on the farm. We didn't live in town very long. We moved to the farm because he was mostly a farmer at the time that we moved there.
Mm-hmm. Have a root cellar up there in West Texas?
Oh, it was. Everybody had a cellar.
Ever have to use it?
Well, we went in it a few times, but did you ever see one of those clouds coming over?
You have any come over you?
Yeah, we've had them, and we've gone down in the cellar too. Yeah. Our cellars were real deep then, because we thought they were dangerous. Mm-hmm. But then we got out of it. We never. Dad never did go in the cellar. He never did go. Said there wasn't any use in it. There wasn't any use in us going down there and exposing ourselves. He didn't like for us to go to the cellar. But we went. That was Mama's idea.
Yeah. How long have you been in here at the home?
This home here? Yeah. I've been here over a month. Let's see, I might be able to count up how long I've been here too. But I know I've been here over a month.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember World War I?
Mm-hmm.
Did you do any work for the war effort?
No, did I?
What'd you do?
I knit socks and sweaters. I was a good-sized girl then. Mm-hmm. And my mother did. My mother gloves because she was a professional, that she could really knit. And she knit
Any
things.
boys around Chillicothe you went to the service?
Oh, yes. My brothers went.
They did?
I had my pen, with the star pen, I think it had 4 stars on it.
Yeah. Now you have a pen that has it.
I don't know what became of maybe in some of my things. I had a 4-star pen. That just was to show how many brothers I had in service. That's all it was. But,
All of them come back?
all of them came back.
Any boys around Chillicothe killed in the war?
Yes, so one of my friends was killed. It's funny to bring these things back to memory. Think about them.
Do you remember the Spanish-American War? That's 1898.
No. Well, it seemed like that I did remember it existing at the time that it did, because I don't know, but not much about it, not in detail.
Yeah. What was Armistice Day like in Chillicothe?
Oh, we had hoopla around Armistice Day.
What, parade, dance?
Yeah,
Everything?
Everything that made a noise and.
How bad was the Depression and the Dust Bowl in Chillicothe?
Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible, and some of those times in there, the dust you could get. It came from the Northwest. I guess if you remember them, why you know what they were, and they'd just come like this, those rolling. It was rolling right over us, and all that dirt, and you had to eat, and they'd blow for 3 days. If it wouldn't, they didn't all blow that long, but most of them would blow for 3 days. It'd come in. And the one I was teaching out at on the West Texas, Tulia, I remembered the name, and I came in from school one evening, and my landlady, one I was rooming with, when I was teaching, told me to come on out. Come on, we had to go to the storm cellar because there's a storm coming up, and went out there, and this was just as black as just a black wall as if it had been built there. Beat anything. That scared us to death.
Was that what they call Black Sunday?
Black what? What did they call it? Anyway.
Black dust.
Yeah, well, you could just see the dust rolling over there, right on us.
Did the Depression affect you much?
In what way? Mentally? Yeah, it did.
Did you continue teaching all through the Depression?
Oh, yeah. I taught, after I taught school, I think I've taught 13, maybe 14 years. I'm not sure. I just have to count that up.
What kind of work did your husband do?
He was a salesman. He sold he first, let's see, what did he do first? I think he did door to door, a little bit of that first. And there was kind of a depression. I remember that it was kind of hard for him to even hold a job to pay enough, pay as much as he wanted to, you know. But
Jody? On.
Did you and your husband both keep your jobs in the Depression?
I didn't have a job before I married.
And do you remember the Depression of 1907, 1908?
Well, I don't remember it in detail. I don't know much I could tell you about it that I did know. But, see, I was a good-sized girl even then. I wasn't any baby.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. What about World War II? You do any work for the war effort in the 40s?
Yeah, I guess I did. All that the women could do. Mm-hmm. Why, I did sewing and knitting and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Dallas had was it a World's Fair in 35 or 36? It's a centennial.
I think 36.
Did you go to that?
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
Well, I couldn't tell you. There it is again. It's so muffled. I would begin to tell you that it would scare you to death, what I'd tell you. Mm.
That's when they built all those buildings at Fair Park, all those?
Yeah.
How big was the fair?
Well, it was good size. What I'd call then a good. You went to Dallas Fair, yeah. It was a good size then, but it was way out there, you know, out of town, and the way to get to the fair wasn't very pleasant, and I don't even know whether they had the paving all the way out there or not, but I guess it did. Because that wasn't so very far back there.
Yeah. What was your favorite exhibit?
Exhibit at the fair? Mm-hmm. Oh goodness, honey, I wouldn't know that. Wouldn't know what a favorite exhibit was.
Well, I think we have a good interview.
I don't know. Pretty poor, I think, but it's now I can't think. I could do pretty good if I just think like I should. When you get my age, you know, you're not going to be able to think so clearly all the time. Most of the time you can, but somebody told me not long ago, said, well, you you certainly have a good memory and you can think so well. Study it. Well, I think I do too, to what some other people don't do.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay. At the country school, they called me Annie all the time. I wasn't anything but Annie Adrian. But then when I went away to school, I told them at the university when I went out there, my brother, well, I had one brother in school at the time, and I told him that I asked him what I should turn my name in at, and he said Annie Adrian, of course. And so I did that, and that my name went into the university as Annie, A-N-N-I-E, Annie Adrian. We've done such funny things.
Yeah.
They named me after a friend of hers, whose name was Annette, A-N-T-N-E-T-T-E. And that's what I turned my name in at the university as. And the kids down at the university changed it to Annette. And so then I was in school then as Annette Adrian. You just count on me doing these things.
Yeah, right here.
Oh, I don't know whether I can use signs.
Here.
Is this it?
Yeah, right there.
And at the top of the A?
Yeah.
I got to get to bed pretty soon.
We're going to bed. I'm not holding you.
I know they'll be coming in here to take my,
Well, they're not coming in now.
she said she wanted to use the school when I get to bed.
Yeah, Adrian right there. Yeah.
Is that Annette Adrian?
Yes, ma'am.